Well, hello out there, Internet, and welcome to another edition of Sandboxx News. My name is Alex Hollings. I'm a journalist, a Marine Corps veteran, and the editor around these parts, and today I'm going to take you through 5 of our biggest stories from the past week, starting with the U.S. Army Reserve getting its first ever female commander. From there, we're going to move out to the Pacific Ocean, where we're going to talk about just how big the Chinese Navy really is. Then, we'll talk a little bit about how one particular 3-star general wishes he could deal with internet trolls. From there, we're going to move on to Navy SEAL training and what it actually takes to make it through. Then finally, we're going to talk about the U.S. Air Force's brand new F-15EX, thanks to a sneak peek Boeing just gave us this week. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our first story of the week is about Major General Jody Daniels being confirmed by the U.S. Senate to serve as the Army Reserve's first ever female commander. Now, General Daniels has got a long and illustrious 36-year career with the U.S. Army, split between active duty and reserve time. But even while she was a reservist, General Daniels was working at places like Lockheed Martin to develop advanced artificial intelligence programs. And she even served on DARPA's Information Science and Technology Review Board. General Daniels is going to take command of the Army Reserve on July 28th. And if you'd like to learn more about this history-making female soldier, make sure you check out our piece about it on Sandboxx News. It's well worth your time. Now, our next story is all about how powerful the Chinese Navy really is in the Pacific. And it's an important distinction to make as America's freedom of navigation operations are stepping up in the South China Sea. Now, China's Navy is already sizable in and of itself, as the media has covered extensively in recent years. But something that's gotten less attention is China's maritime militia and Coast Guard, both of which answer directly to the People's Liberation Army Navy, which is effectively the official name for China's Navy. That means that in the South China Sea and in the Pacific at large, China actually has hundreds of more ships that they could devote to a fight than the United States could offer in a Pacific conflict. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that America would lose such a war, but it does mean that our strategy would have to allow for the understanding that America is dramatically outnumbered in the Pacific. If you'd like to learn more about this and how American technology and training can offset a great deal of this advantage, we have a deep dive all about it this week on Sandboxx News. I think it's safe to say that these days we could all use a good laugh, and that's what this next story is all about. Earlier this week, Army General Ted Martin, who's the Deputy Commanding General for Army Training and Doctrine Command, released a video on Twitter showing what he'd like to do to some of the trolls that keep responding to him on social media.
I got some comments on Twitter. Let's see what they had to say. What? I am sick of snarky comments. Andy! Sir! Andy, I got another snarky comment.
Now, I know I have my fair share of dealings with trolls in this line of work, and I am sure that each and every one of you has your own experience with these keyboard commandos. If you have ever wanted to send your own tank platoon against a keyboard warrior who just wouldn't leave you alone on social media, this video is a must-watch, and you can catch it right now on Sandboxx News. How many people do you know that could make it as a Navy SEAL, move on to the CIA, and then from there become a professional firefighter in their own community at home so that they could continue their lifetime of service? That's our guy Frumentarius. He's a Sandboxx News contributor, and this week we're talking about his story called You Can Make It Through Navy SEAL Training If You Can Do This One Thing. Now, most people think that Navy SEAL training is all about being physically tough. And let's be honest, that's a big part of it. But as Fru points out in this piece, it's really the mental game that'll get you through Navy SEAL training and that'll make you successful in just about anything else. He explains that the one thing you need to do above all else is convince yourself that quitting is a physical impossibility for you. Now, if you have aspirations about going into special operations or just excelling in anything that you do, this article is a must-read, and you can catch it on Sandboxx News right now. Earlier this week, the U.S. Air Force unveiled its first images of brand new F-15EXs being built by Boeing for the United States, prompting many of you to ask, why are we buying new F-15s in this era of stealth fighters like the F-35? Now, it's important to know, first of all, that the F-15 isn't intended to do the same jobs as an F-35. It's also good to know that the F-15 remains one of America's most capable air intercept platforms. In fact, it is the fastest fighter jet in America's arsenal. If you want to learn more about the new F-15EX and why we're buying it even though it's not a stealth fighter, you can learn all about it in a piece on Sandboxx News called "Why Are We Buying New F-15s in the Era of the F-35?" I recommend you give it a read, and let me know what you think. And that's it for this week's edition of Sandboxx News. Make sure you swing by sandboxxnews.com every day for the latest news and information from all around the force. And go ahead and like and subscribe down below this video. If you hit that bell icon, it'll let you know anytime new Sandboxx content hits YouTube. Until next time, I'm Alex Hollings, and thanks a lot for stopping by.